Hello everybody, and welcome to the 48th edition of the Frank and Stan chat. And as you can see, it's just Stan and Frank today. So hello Stan.
Hello, good morning. Good
Friday. It's Good Friday.
Yeah, and it's pleasant weather finally.
Yeah.
A bit cold but pleasant.
We've had some lovely sun this week though, haven't we? Had a couple of days of really warm weather.
Oh, we've got the family coming round in the garden this afternoon.
Right.
So we're hoping for some decent weather.
We've got friends up from Teddington who live in Stockport who are, we have seen only on, I think it was Christmas Eve. They came knocked on the door to give us gifts. So we haven't seen them for, well, for a long time. So it'd be nice to have a really good chat with them as well. I'll give them a shout out because they might watch the video. So Richard and Maria, it's good to look, we're looking forward to seeing you. Okay, well, another tumultuous week in education this week. This is what we're going to talk about for those new to the channel. Unscripted, we try and be kind and fair, but we don't shirk any of the issues, and there's quite a few things to talk about this week. So what's caught your eye this week, Stan?
Several things have caught my eye, but the one that struck me was Ofsted announcing a change in, well, they've not said it's a change. They said they weren't going to go back to graded inspections until September, and now they're saying, with a spin, that schools that are RI and might have improved, they would like to come and do an inspection there with the opportunity of changing the section and then doing a full inspection. I assume if they can do that, they can do the opposite.
Yeah, yes.
And the thought of kind of schools at the moment, particularly schools that struggle anyway, with everything they've got, having Ofsted arriving. And I do have to say, one of our schools has got Ofsted first week back after Easter to test the framework. That's what they've been told.
What, to test the framework to say that it doesn't cover all the bits that the schools have been looking at over the last year, like community and engagement. Yeah. And of course, the other thing, Stan, they do safeguarding so well.
Yeah.
Safeguarding, you know, I mean, why hasn't anybody connected this? You know, we now got, you know, we have a problem, a sexual, an apparent sexual abuse problem, which began in private schools. It's probably in every, you know, I wouldn't say in every school, but it's more rampant than just private.
But it's about society, that, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It happens that those people that this is affecting are of school age.
Yes.
I do think that's something we've not quite grasped with this. No. It's already seen as a school problem.
Yes, I agree. I think Mary Bowstead said that at the this week, and she's right. But actually, the issue here is around. But why would you send Ofsted in when actually Ofsted's already been in? You know, it stayed within the private sector where those inspections are undertaken by the Independent Schools Inspectorate, which is quality assured very, very flimsily by Ofsted. And they found nothing wrong with these schools. In fact, probably most of them are outstanding, according to ISI. But of course, safeguarding is all around, not just about safeguarding procedures, is it? You know, there's these sorts of issues around culture and curriculum and relationships, you know.
I think the most frightening thing about safeguarding is that in some cases now, schools think they are safe.
Yes.
And they rely on, you know, it's like a DBS, you know, have you got a DBS? Yes. Okay, you can come in.
Yeah.
Have you checked it? Do you want, you know, I can give you a number. Here's a number written on my ID badge.
I remember leading on the local authority inspections, joint area reviews, and one section was on safety. I remember it was health, safety, education. And I remember a report coming through and thinking, hang on, we're saying this local authority, children are safe. I'm thinking, really? We can't say that. So I remember proposing that we say they appear based on the evidence to be safe. And even then I felt that's pushing it, you know. But I was pushed back. No, we've got to be able to say this. And of course, this definitive element of it, you know, where this is a good school, You know,
Yeah.
this has got to be down to a judgment, a simple word that everybody can understand, you know,
Yeah.
leads to, you know, the nuance of these things can't be captured in a single word.
No, and you know, we've spoken about this lots of times. The credibility really about how those judgments are reached. You know, somebody listening to the video from Sean Hartford and sort of saying, he's saying, yes, we don't need to have a statement of intent. You don't need this. You don't need to be doing that. But actually, he's not the inspector that rocks up on your door, is he?
No.
And the inspector that rocks up on your door has got his or her own views about what you need to have done and what you. And it's no good saying Sean Hartford says I don't have to do it on the morning of an inspection.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this for those that don't know, Sean Hartford, I think, is the education director for Ofsted. I think that's his title. But anyway, he issued a statement this week, having, I think, come back only recently from a sabbatical off to the Cabinet Office, and made clear that all the stuff that was said around these three elements of how to create the perfect curriculum, the first of which was intent, actually you don't need to make an intent or create an intent statement. But actually, I think you need, I think every school should be pretty clear, not just to its parents and its kids, but to its staff about what its curriculum is going to be about, you know, and what's going to be within it, you know, and what the priorities are. And
Well, you have to publish your curriculum details on your website anyway.
So
I'm still not convinced I've ever seen anything that says there's a legal requirement to have a website.
no, I'm not.
Legally, you have to put everything on the
Website. Oh, don't get us down that road. Anyway, well, what's caught my eye this week? Okay, this is quite difficult really, because I've actually read every 258 pages of the Ethnicity and Race Disparity Commission report. And the way that I did it was I decided to read the summary, and then I went to the education section and I read the entire education section report. I didn't read at that time all the other elements of the report. I mean, it's 258 pages. There were elements of the summary where I thought, oh, I'm not sure about this. But because actually I'm not an expert in health, I'm not an expert in policing, I feel as though I think I probably could say I'm not an expert, but I know a little bit more about education than I do about those factors. I concentrate on that. And actually I found that a number of the recommendations in the education section really sensible. And I think, but that proves, doesn't it, that actually, you know, I think I know, because of my own personal experiences, both, you know, working as a CEO and working as an HMI and what have you, that there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that, you know, particular ethnic groups are not getting a fair crack at this. And, you know, but actually within the education section, if you take those recommendations on their own, you know, apart from the curriculum one, you know, there's one there about, you know, and actually what I was doing this work for was not actually around curriculum. It was around sort of school targeted improvement. And actually a lot of the stuff there I would recommend. And I'd suggest, you know, if you're interested in this sort of area, read the 258 pages of the report. Don't go on the sound bites, but actually that report just, you know, in a way it's interesting is how the messaging of that report, that summary, just didn't do it. You know, it just was not emphatic enough about the difficulties that you know, particular ethnic groups have.
Well, not only that, Frank, but when it was released with very careful timing, so that the papers and the news outlets would only have a section of the summary.
Well, it was interesting. I couldn't get an embargoed copy, even though in my role in the Northern Powers Partnership, and it was published at 11:30 a.m., which is a really weird time, isn't it? Most of these things are published at 7 or 8 in the morning to catch the morning news and actually get the whole day to it. But this actually was quite an odd time for it to be. But anyway, that's what's caught my eye this week. And if ever a report really sort of was. Probably didn't go out, well, did it go out of its way to be divisive? You know, that's probably where some of the critics are going with it. But actually, you know, it's clear that it hasn't. All it's done is entrenched a particular view. It hasn't actually elaborated or moved the...
I haven't read it all, Frank, but for me, what it's done, like everything else at the moment, it's just fed the two tribes exactly what they wanted to hear. So you know, on one side you're saying it's, you know, it's denying the institutionalized racism, which it's like your statement. You would never say there is no institutionalized racism, would you? You just wouldn't say that.
Well, I think you know, I can't say that there are not many of the 200 largest companies in the country that have anybody who is not white and anybody who's and female, you know. So actually, you know, this goes, you know, beyond much further than race, you know, and actually, you know, until those sorts of things happen, I suspect that there will be just this sort of, you know, we've got to actually not just be seen to be doing it, but it's actually got to be real. It's got to feel as though it's fair.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, when people pick out the bits they want to see and hear, I won't mention the name, but there was a journalist it's probably all over Twitter now anyway, has said, you know, in discussing things like slavery and has said, yes, but if it hadn't been for slavery, we wouldn't have had the British Navy, who were able eventually to stop slavery.
Yeah.
What? So if we hadn't have had the pandemic, we wouldn't have been able to make up a vaccine that stops the pandemic. Oh, great. So the pandemic...
Well, I know we were talking before about curriculum, and I studied at university history, and we did British imperialism. And I remember a lecturer, because we had overhead projectors in those days, Stan. Do you remember those?
With a candle.
it was amazing.
Candles lighting it up.
I'd never seen one before, but in the third year of study, he put an image of a slave ship up on the screen, and just walked away, and there was absolute silence in the room. You know, in late 70s, you know, I don't know, there must have been, everybody there must have been a white student, and you think absolute silence, you know. And I remember that, how bold, forward thinking, you know, that just that simple bit of teaching was at that stage, you know. And I'm really grateful. I can't even remember his name, but I'm grateful for that course, giving me a really clear understanding of the, you know, there's some positives obviously out of it, but the negative elements of it, you know, we mustn't forget, you know, that. And I think that there's just a fear, isn't it, that sort of, I mean, the term whitewashing is, but you know, but actually it's we must allow students to understand, you know, that there are some things that we did as a nation that we're not proud of, but obviously we did them. But actually the consequences of that are still being felt today, you know, even though that may be, and certainly in America, that's certainly being felt a lot.
And it's not on racism particularly, but if you're teaching that, you've also got to teach about the mindset of people at the time. Because, you know, I think of well, various things where we judge people in the past by our understanding and standards now, and we condemn people. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute these people were honourable or whatever, but we just need to have the mindset to say, but it was a different time and thoughts were different. You know, at the time, you may have been prosecuted for saying that the Earth moves around the sun. You could have been burnt at the stake for that at one stage. So we've got to understand how people felt, what people knew, what the understanding was at the time. However horrific it appears to us now, and it was.
Yeah.
We have to understand that.
Yeah, I think it's funny, you know, that I think there's, in a sense, that going back to that lecture, it was as much around emotion and compassion, and it wasn't about it was those were the sort of things that I took from that lecture. I can't tell you the name of the boat. I can't tell you how many slaves were on that bottom deck. I can't tell you who the captain was. I don't know where the hell they were going. You know, that's all the knowledge of it. You know, those are the sorts of things that you probably would be tested on. But actually, the thing that has stuck with me is, you know, complete unfairness, the brutality of it. You know, all of that stuff is, I think, the emotion that I want our young people to feel. You know, I don't give a, I was going to swear there, but I don't about the knowledge of it. You know, in a way, you know, whatever happened on that boat, that should never have happened. And we should understand that.
And there were people at the time who were condemning it. That's the other thing. So there were different views. I just think we pick, and as you say, when we just pick the knowledge, if we know that so many ships sailed from here to there and made so much money,
yeah, I know,
we really don't get the picture.
No.
What happened.
So that's what's caught my eye this week. Are we going to get onto anything else? I mean, I think.
I doubt it. What about? It's a question. I was doing some work for this course we're working on. Well, it's done now, but we just got into a little bit of a debate with Paul, and it sparked something that I think you and I have talked about before, and it was how much autonomy does a teacher get? And how much autonomy now would you trust a teacher with? Or how much is confined by what the school says we do, and this is what we teach, and this is how we teach it?
Well, yeah, that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because
I think the best teachers I work with shone because they had the room to shine and develop and show me things that I didn't expect.
Yeah, but it goes back, doesn't it, to, I mean, I don't know if we spoke about this last week, but actually being, when appointing teachers, you know, are we absolutely clear as a school as to what it is we do and the way that we do it? You know, that doesn't mean to say it's not like a straitjacket. I don't mean it's like a factory production line, you know, all the teachers got to be the same, or but actually, is there absolute clarity as to what this school is about? And I think it wasn't actually, it was a lecture I was giving. And actually, I don't think schools are very good at doing that. You know, when they advertise for a teaching post, you know, probably the first thing they should be issuing is, well, this is our curriculum statement. This is really what
kind of person we want. We want somebody who's. We've just done on this course. I think we've talked about this. I don't want to repeat it. We did about Shackleton and his advert for his staff, and a couple of schools have changed the way they are advertising to really to say, you know, you can come here and you can grow and develop and work with us as part of your, almost part of your career development. Something you choose to do, you can shine here. Rather than have you taught in year 2, have you taught you know, and that list to say let's look at the kind of person we're getting, because the rest we can mold. If their values, beliefs, their excitement at the job is the same as ours, then we can mold the rest.
Yes, it's interesting though, wouldn't it, though, that thinking about it, I think I mentioned to you that when I taught in my NQT year, the head teacher didn't actually see me teach at all. No one came in to see me teach at all that year, other than when the secretary was away and I hadn't sent the register down. So he had to come into my classroom to collect the register. That was it. And actually, when you think about appointing new teachers, I think there's probably something around earning your autonomy.
Yeah, yeah, there is, but you've got to have some room to
Yeah,
show that.
to shine.
Yeah, you've got to have the room to shine, and the opposite end of that is a team of robots that I would hate.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm all for having the different teacher, the one that works differently from everybody else, provided the progress that the children are making is not uniform.
Yeah, I think we're going to differ a little bit.
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Because I remember a teacher. I can't tell you the teacher's name because it'd be unfair to do that. But I do remember a teacher who a lot of the parents and children loved, but actually just never did anything but the same sort of thing every day. So the diet would never have it. You know, it offered no breadth. But what it did in a narrow way was high quality. Now that's fine if you're turned on by that narrowness, and there were children who and parents who loved that. Other children just didn't. You know, it just didn't engage every child. There was no real attempt to draw out all the skills and attributes that children have. And you know, in a way, I remember the cleaner saying, "Well, that I don't bother taking any stuff to clean the sink because that's never used.
No.
It collects dust all the year round."
That's certainly not my idea of giving somebody autonomy.
So the thing for me was around that one of the biggest pressures for me was how do you broaden that offer at the same time as keeping that person on board, and also a swathe of parents who just absolutely adored that type of curriculum. You know, I don't know if I was successful in that or not.
See, I had a teacher in my school who was very creative, actually, but the one thing that she did very formally and very well was handwriting, and I'd never seen that as an issue. I'd never seen it as a problem until one year we had a shuffle of staff round. People took on different year groups, and a bit later I was noticing that the year 5, I think it was, handwriting was awful. Year 4's was better, year 6's was better, but it was awful. Presentation, everything was awful, and we couldn't work out why. And then when I tracked it back, this one cohort had missed that one teacher.
Right.
So that element of her practice that I thought was, you know, a bit formal and a bit unnecessary, actually was crucial for the standards we were getting at the end of the stage. Even though I think she was in year 4, I think, or maybe even year 3, that there was an element of what she did
that stayed with
that had a real impact.
Yeah.
And I missed it until we saw the gap.
Right. Well, you see, you've triggered something there, Stan. Okay. I can tell you now, this week, I think I've actually written with a pen about 30 words.
Yeah.
And actually, how many words have you actually written with a pen this week?
Only, well, probably more than that, but only because I've been taking phone calls that I've needed to take notes on.
Right. So note taking, not presentation.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that.
No, you know what I mean. So,
writing for presentation, Jill does.
So I mean, in a way, and on every computer, if you're using Word or Google Docs, you've got a dictation facility.
Yeah. Which
actually makes you feel as though, well, you know, why the hell am I typing when I can actually just talk it to the screen? And actually looking forward, if we're thinking about a curriculum statement or an intent, you know, really, I get understand that handwriting in itself is an art form, perhaps, and actually it increases dexterity and fine motor skills. I get all that.
I think it also links to spelling as well.
Does it? Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard that as well. But actually, the thing is that how important is that going to be for my grandchildren in 10, 15, 20 years time?
And I've gone I've swayed both sides, honestly. Over my periods ahead, I would say nobody writes anymore. And then at one point they were developing pads, if you remember, that you wrote on, and it translated it straight into a Word document.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's actually quite fast. That's faster than typing. So maybe there is a case for handwriting and be able to right fast.
But actually,
And
nothing can be as fast as speaking, can it?
no, and
You know,
how accurate that is, I've not used.
well, my eldest granddaughter, when we're doing childcare, she comes onto this laptop and basically just speaks to the screen, and honestly, Stan, it is, and goes full stop, semicolon, comma, you know, and she has to she has to review it,
Yeah.
but I'd say 95%, 98% of it is accurate.
Right.
You know,
Well, you see, like when I first started teaching in the Middle Ages,
oh yeah,
I had a lad who just couldn't get maths. He just wasn't. He couldn't get the concept of it. He was way behind the others. And I remember going to the head and saying, I'd do this lad a lot more favours if I taught him to use a calculator properly, because he'll probably always have access to a calculator. He won't be able to work things out. And I was told, no. What if he
revolutionary, Stan? Don't walk.
What if he hasn't got his calculator with him? Okay, maybe he won't have to divide 5,000 into 45,000.5 in his day job. He has his day job. He'll have his calculator with him. I'm never thinking you get to the stage where your phone has everything.
But I think this is the thing about, you know, preparing. You know, there are a set of skills that I don't think will actually sort of morph into something else. You know, there's some sort of core skills that we're going to need. You know, being able to do things mentally. You know, simple arithmetic. You know, sort of problems and whatever. I think there will always be a need for that. Or estimating. You know, just well that you know, mostly when I go into the shop and I don't actually now. Money. I mean,
no,
I've not had any cash for months.
A few times when I was doing some building work on the house and on my son's house, and I was going to places like Wickes and Bulk, you just think that just doesn't feel right.
No, absolutely.
And you'd say, "Can you just check that?" Oh yeah, we've charged you for 10 of those instead of 2.
Yes.
No, right. All right, I'll put it all right and everything, but there is that being able just to have a rounded figure of what that total might be.
Yeah. But see, we're spending a lot of time on this sort of stuff and not enough time on, I would say, on sort of an understanding of the digital capability that there is now that we ought to be using more of. You know, I do feel as though we've had this sort of push. It's as if digital, the introduction of, you know, millions of over a million devices and improved connectivity, that is the future. And we've gone, I think, in the last year, we've made 5 or 6 years progress in the last year. And what we can't do, I do agree, we cannot go back to, you know, we can't go back to, we're not going back to where we were, we're going back to somewhere else, or we are now where we are. You know, we've got to
if I was ahead now, I don't think I'd be considering parents' evenings other than via Zoom or any of those, because it's more controllable, it's more confidential, it gives a better face-to-face. You've not got people waiting in the background. All that is just so much slicker that you can do it much quicker.
But I think we can do that in many other areas as well, and I think we need to sort of embrace this. Anyway, looking at the clock behind you there, Stan, it's just flashed up the time, helpfully, and I think we're very close to our half hour. Unbelievable where they all go. But anyway, I think we've got a series of guests coming up over the next few weeks. So some big celebs, big stars, not so big stars, but I think it'll be Stan, just to say to you, Stan and I have been thinking about whether we should continue with these on a weekly basis when we get to our annual anniversary, our first anniversary, or whether we should move to monthly. So if any of you who do follow us regularly have a view, I know some of you say, oh, we'll do it weekly because it's quite, but actually It is. We're not sure. It felt right during lockdown. I'm not sure whether weekly is going to feel right for everybody when we're right back in the thick of it. So anyway, I'd be interested in what viewers, followers think. If you could let us know in the usual channels, in the usual way. Okay. Well, have a good Easter, Stan.
Yeah, we family today, and then well, we can visit each other's back gardens.
And is it Easter eggs? Do you still have the Easter eggs?
Yeah, we've got those are all downstairs.
My obsession is Maltesers.
All right, well,
I have a serious
only eats dark chocolate, so that always causes a little bit of, it limits what you can get.
Well, actually, I think
is mine.
I need to get some flowers today. I think that's where I'm heading. Probably
is
tomorrow.
My weakness.
Oh.
Chocolate Smart can't beat Smart.
No, actually, when I fill the car up with petrol, which I haven't done since the 1st of February, by the way, I always get a picnic.
All right.
So these little.
That's one thing with not, since I stopped doing, well, I suppose stopped being an advisor in the sense of having 20 odd schools and driving around all the time. I've not had anywhere near as much of those kind of
snacks.
Fill it with petrol, get a picnic or a bag of sweets as the thing.
I don't know why I saw it as a treat. Filling the car out with petrol, I deserve a treat. That's what was going on in my head. Anyway, it's as always lovely to chat to you, Stan. And we'll see you, all being well, next week for number 50. Wow.
No. This is 48.
Oh, is it? Oh, do you know what? We probably still need the mathematics going on somewhere.
I'll get my calculator out. All right, I'll ask Alexa.
I'm estimating now. I was close.
I'll ask Alexa.
Okay. Well, have a good week, everybody. See you next week and enjoy the Easter break.